Hello and welcome back to the Villa View for another video. Now, today is a very special one. You may be thinking it's one of them videos where I'm just sat in my room, and yeah, I am just sat in my room at the moment, but there's something more to it. Dan and I went down to Villa Park yesterday to speak to CEO Keith Wyness and put some questions to him that Villa fans wanted asking. Basically, on behalf of the Villa fans, we hope we've done you justice in speaking to Keith for 15 minutes. 15 minutes of his time, he took out of his day to speak to us and gave us some answers about some of the concerns we may have, and just generally speaking about what's coming ahead in the new season. Do enjoy it. So to start you off, Keith, first season seems to have flown by. How would you describe sort of the last season or so for you personally, and then just generally for the club?
Well, yeah, it has flown by. To think it was just the end of last June that we actually got the control of the club, and it was disappointing. I mean, you always hope to make an immediate impact, and we don't think we quite got the results we hoped for in terms of making that immediate impact. But looking back, there's been a lot of progress made in a lot of areas, and so we keep on being optimistic for this season.
Do you think there's any particular reason why it didn't quite happen for us last season? Is there one thing you could put your finger on?
It was the lack of, I think, too many in, too many out. But everybody knew there had to be a lot of outs, and there was, but that did, and the two managers. So I think that stability, lack of stability in both areas, we couldn't get the gelling and the team stability we wanted. I think that's the key factor in the end.
And would you say that over the last 12 months there's been a big clean-up operation obviously to do? Would you say we're a much better place now than we were 12 months ago?
I think we are. I think we are much better placed. I mean, I was talking to one of the girls at the training ground the other day, and she said, I said, how are things, this pre-season? She says, it's so great to come back and have the same manager here than it was when I left. And I think it's about the first time in 4 or 5 years that's been the case. So that's an indication of stability that I think everybody's looking forward to knowing what's happening. Actually, it's a key thing.
Obviously, you spoke about like the high turnover of players and staff in the last 12 months. Do you think the fact that we did so much business in the 2 transfer windows previous, that'll stand us in good stead for this season now, that we haven't had to do as much?
Well, part of the thinking was that when things weren't going quite so well, to get a lot of business done in January, knowing that would give players a chance to bed in for this season. So that's what we've done. It's worked, I think. We did a pre-season, which I don't think a lot of the fans understood, where we invited a number of players to come down with their families, and we would look after the accommodation, provided they trained in the mornings. And this was before pre-season.
Yeah.
And we thought we might have 3 or 4 players take up the offer. In fact, about 12 turned up. And that really has created that, cementing a squad in terms of team spirit. Families got to know each other, and so that really has helped. But I say at this stage of the season, or before the season, you're looking for every single straw to grasp at. And like everybody else, it's the hope that kills you this time of year.
And if we did dare say we didn't go up this season, what's the plan of action for if that was the case?
Well, you've got to see why. What was the case? What was the reason? Was it injuries? Was it all sorts of things could happen yet? You can't look too far ahead in football. There's no point, and we'll just review it as we go forward. But as we've seen, we're never afraid to take action and take the big decisions if we have to. But stability is a key word that I'll keep coming back to, and I think the teams that have done it in the Championship and got up have had that stability and played as a team, and that's what we want to try and keep.
You spoke like last season of the implementing like a Villa way of playing. Do you think we're any closer to getting that now? I
think, well, Steve Rand set the blueprint for that, and there's a lot of detail on what the Villa way is. It takes a long time to integrate it into the coaching right the way through from the 12s upwards.
Yeah.
There is no doubt we have got a style we want to agree. I don't think we've actually got it implemented onto the pitch yet, but we know where we're going with it. And I say it takes a long time to ingrain it in the club. So it's really a 3, 4, 5 year project. But there's no doubt that's where we've got an idea where we want to go with it.
You've touched on it there. There's been murmurs of people saying about the style of football. Would you say that the pre-season preparation is leading towards that being in place, to being more aesthetically pleasing, you could say, style of football, or just something that wins us games? Because that's the main motive, really, is winning those games.
Well, I've always said that we're going to build 3 teams at Villa. One to get us up, one to stay up, and one to push on from there. Getting us up is the priority, and I want those results, like everybody does, to get us up. I do think that Steve understands with the right personnel we can play some decent football and attacking football. Look, we've got to score 80 goals this season. We've got to get 70 to 80 goals, there's no doubt about it. So therefore, it's got to be pretty attractive attacking football to get that number of goals. So, but if we have to grind out 1-0s, I'll be happy with that as well.
Were you happy with that last season? Because I actually, the 5 or 6 game run that we had where we were winning 1-0, I was quite happy that we'd been made tough to beat. And then I thought that this season maybe we'd expand on that and find a better way of playing as well. Do you mind the winning ugly?
No, I don't. I'll take the 3 points every time, particularly in the Championship. I really want to do that. And I was absolutely thrilled every time that whistle blew. Given that period we had last season when we were giving away goals in the last 5 minutes, we were turning wins into draws or draws into losses. I became really happy when that whistle went and we got a 1-0. So, no, I'll take it. And this season, I'll take it again.
Obviously, been mooted in the press about financial fair play. It's on the lips of many fans, not just Villa fans, in terms of other clubs. And where do we sit with that at this moment?
Well, if we'd bought Neymar for 200 million, we might have had a problem. But no, I think we're going to be tight this year on financial fair play. But I think we're going to be okay. Next year we've got a slightly bigger issue, but I think again we've got plans in place to handle it. Also, there's a lot of changes going on financial fair play. There's a lot of clubs looking to try and get the rules changed, in the Championship in particular. So it's watch this space, but I think we're within the rules as we sit just now.
Dr. Tony is obviously very, very popular amongst the fan base. Everyone loves seeing what he has to say. Can you just give us an idea of what it's like to actually work for him?
I obviously got to know Tony. I mean, I knew him before the transaction. I got to know him a few months before that, and then I've got to know him much better, obviously, over the last year. He's a very, very decent man. I've watched how he treats his staff in China. I've watched how he handles different business deals, etc. And I've seen nothing but an honourable guy. He genuinely loves Villa. And as he said to me the other week, he said, look, I haven't bought this club for 5 or 6 years. He said, I bought this for the rest of my life. And he means that. And he's young enough to follow through and create the big club. And I know that's what he wants to do. And believe me, there's nobody I've met that like him that's got the brain power to do it. Tony's got great vision. And it's been a real pleasure to work with him. And he's been the great chairman in the sense of he has great positive input, but he doesn't dictate. He listens, and he will watch and listen and take advice from the people that know in the football management team. He doesn't tell us you've got to do this, but he does listen. But he also has some great positive thought himself. So to me, he's been the perfect chairman.
It's ideal to hear. You've got to talk about John Terry as well. When Steve first comes to you going, I want to sign John Terry, did you for 1 minute think it could ever be pulled off?
Well, I thought, yeah, go ahead, Steve, because yeah, I didn't think it would. You're right, I didn't think it would happen, but I pretty soon realised that there was a big chance, and so we got serious about it, and we did a lot of backwards and forwards in terms of the negotiations, and very creative. And I'm really pleased to say that it wasn't the financial side of it. Genuinely, I know that's been said before, but it's true. It wasn't just the financial side that got John here. It was the combination of people, Steve Rand, Steve Bruce, who he'd known before and had huge respect for. I met John as well, and I think he liked what was happening with the club, and he liked hearing the vision. And I can see he's been nervous about trying to prove himself again. And I think he's better than I thought he would be. That's all I can say, and I've got nothing but praise so far.
Do you think Villa Park it is notoriously a tough place for our own players to play? Do you think someone with that strength of character like John Terry will help the others as well? There's
no doubt. I mean, he's done it everywhere. But for everybody, it is an imposing place to play. And that's great, but we've got to get our swagger back. And I think that's what John's getting into the squad, is getting that Villa swagger back. And it's good to see.
How would you sort of assess the whole squad as a whole in terms of promotion? Are we ready in terms of that squad now? Because to me, there's plenty of depth all over that field.
There is depth. As I say, I've got no concerns about defence. I was obviously very disappointed to see Jack getting injured so seriously. It's goals, is what we all know. I think that's what we've got to look at. But if we can get things firing, I can see better service already coming to the forwards from some of the acquisitions we've got already. And I think we can do it. Yeah, I mean, I'm very positive for this year, very positive, and I'll be very disappointed if we don't go up.
Obviously, you've worked at Everton before. I've always thought that Everton and Villa were quite similar clubs. Is there a lot of similarities between the two teams, other than the league at the moment?
It's a huge number of similarities, almost in every aspect. When I first came here, it was the same. I think it's the most played fixture in the whole of Premier League football, and the whole of football, Everton Villa. But it's the fan base, it's the same tradition, it's the same sort of history, it's the same feeling of quality and tradition that are there, and also both clubs trying to move themselves forward into the modern day as well. So yes, I do feel a lot of similarities, and if we do draw Everton in the Cup this year, I can't wait to get one over them.
Realistically, how far away are Villa from getting to their level?
Well, obviously they've had a big injection of cash this summer,
Yeah,
Everton. I mean, with the new owner, I mean that's been a big injection. However, if we're back in the Premiership, I think we can match that if we needed to. We've got to see how things develop, but we're building well and we're starting to get things right. So I don't think we're that far away that if we're back in the Premiership that we cannot challenge in that, certainly in the top 10 going upwards.
Steve Bruce is the old dog, so to speak, of this league. He knows what to do to get out of this league. Big game for him, obviously, on personal ground, on Hull on Saturday. What is he like as a person to work with as well?
Steve's been great. I've got to say, I've worked with a number of managers, but Steve has been a real pleasure to work with. He told me that he hardly sleeps during the season because of his fear of losing, and I admire that about him. He still is a very fierce competitor, but we have good chats, we talk things through, and he's been very reasonable and very forward thinking. He's also putting a lot of work in, not just obviously in the training of the players, but in acquiring players. Steve is very crucial as well, as you've seen with John Terry. But Steve does a lot of work behind the scenes, and he seems to never stop.
Home form was probably good enough to get promoted last year. We only lost 3 games, I think it was, at Villa Park. Are you confident that the away form will be addressed this season?
I know the squad met about this exactly. We gave them all the signposts of where they need to be in terms of promotion this year, all the different factors of different things they need to do. Away form came out as a big shining Belisha beacon saying this is what we've got to improve, and goals away from home as well. We're aware of that, and I think we'll see that with the squad we've got, away form hopefully will start to continue. I remember the relief last year at Reading, getting that away win. I mean, I remember it clearly. So I don't want to have that feeling of relief again. I want to make it more of a consistent feeling. Having away victories is what we'd like to see. All of us would. But it's going to come down to goals, and that's what I think we're going to have to focus on. But away from home, we're all aware of it, and we've got to get that right.
Do you think there was a particular reason why we struggled? Because for as long as I can remember, actually, not just last season, Villa have always struggled away from home.
I think there was, I'll go back to a bit of inconsistency in terms of formations that the different managers played at different times, so we couldn't get a settled pattern.
Yeah.
I think that's probably was the reason looking back, but hindsight's always easy. What seemed like the right formation against an opponent was the right thing to pick at the time, the managers thought. However, it didn't, with hindsight, I say it's easy to look at that. But the teams that have got up, I mean, you look at, it wasn't the teams that have spent money that have gone up. It's the teams that have played as a team and have been consistent. And that goes for the last 3 or 4 seasons. And that's what we've got to do. I mean, we've spent the money, there's no doubt. It's a case of getting that consistency, get us firing, and get that confidence, and I say get that swagger back in the team, and take everything that comes to us that way.
If you could pick out one highlight from your time at Villa so far, is there a moment that stands out to you as being the best moment you've had so far at your time at Villa?
I think Reading away was a nice one. I did enjoy that because I knew how much it meant to the away fans, and the away fans have been absolutely superb last season, and I think they deserve that. Of course, Gabby's goal in the derby does stick in the mind because it means so much, and everybody's just so excited for that and really up for it. I think, I've had lots of moments when I've been really just very proud to be representing Aston Villa around the country, and I met the fans have been fantastic, I've got to say. The ones I've met have been superb. So there isn't one moment, there's lots of big moments that have made it a very special year, and it just makes you really proud to represent the club and to redouble your effort to make sure that things get right and we move things forward.
Well, hopefully you'll have many more proud moments through the next season and beyond. Thank you very much for taking time out your day to meet with us today, Keith.
Okay, listen, it's a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing as many fans this season again as I can do. And I'm always there for a chat.
Thank you very much.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers, Keith. Thanks very much.
Thank you to Keith for speaking to us, taking time out of his day to speak to us. It's unprecedented for a fan channel to actually speak to a CEO of a football club in this manner, where it's a sit-down interview. It was only 15 minutes long, so perhaps we didn't cover everything you may have wanted covering, but we hope we've covered some of the more pressing issues amongst Aston Villa fans at the moment, like financial fair play, like playing style, like what happens if it doesn't work out this season. We hope we've covered as much as we could do in 15 minutes, and we hope we've done you guys justice, and we hope you've enjoyed this video as well. If you have done, please do drop us that like below. Comment on your thoughts on what Keith's had to say. Do you agree with him? Do you not? Let us know. And also subscribe to The Villa View if you are new to the channel.
If you enjoyed that video, why not watch another? Click the video choices on screen now to go and watch them in full. Be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking our logo there on the left. Easy peasy.